In this session, I'm going to introduce you to the world of R, which is creating a sensation in the data analytics space, right? So, as an introductory session here, I'll be talking about what is R. I will talk about how to install it and what the basic way to get started with the R. It's a very preliminary way of getting started with R. And at the same time, I'll also talk about what is the kind of help that is available for you in case you have to use R, right? And what are the kind of tools that are available for you to do some kind of programming with R. So these are the things that I'm going to look at. Okay, getting started. First, let me do with what is R. There are two ways for me to define. One, it's a programming language, just like any other programming language like C, Java. It's a programming language. And the other way to talk about R is a kind of a software which will also run the programs that you have written in R programming language. Probably this is a kind of a language, or R as a tool today is almost 25 years old, at least 25 years old kind of programming language. It is free, open source. The advantage of this is, if let's say there is already something available, let's say you wanted to compute some, you want to perform some regression, right? And there is something that is already available and you did not like the way it is performed, then there is a flexibility that you can write your own package, your own piece of code, and make it work the way you really want. So which means there are multiple implementations of the same process, because different people might have coded and written it in different way. There is a flexibility which you can very well utilize to write the functionalities whichever you want. That is the good thing about this tool R. And a few more things. It's an interpreted language, so it does not require, again, from the computer software community, they should be able to make out the code will not be compiled before you run. And at the same time, it's a high level language, which means I really don't need to go ahead into the inner workings of my computer, the setup and all. The setup of my computer and all really don't really matter. It's a high level programming language. I don't need to get into the internal modalities of my system. So the overall focus of R is only analyze. It really creates a kind of a platform for you where you can analyze the data quite effectively. And coming to the way, probably if I have to compare it with any other programming languages, it's a kind of a mixture of the functionalities of different programming languages. Here, I'll try to bring in the three kinds of programming languages. One, the imperative languages, probably like C, where we write some kind of a program or a script, one calculation after other. It's a sequential approach. So it supports majorly that kind of a process. But at the same time, I can also use object oriented programming, just like any other C++ or Java, which are pure object-oriented programming languages, where we talk about the data and functions grouped as a part of classes, objects and classes. That's a traditional object-oriented programming structure. Or it can also support the traditional functional programming, or some aspects of functional programming languages are also being absorbed, like Lisp, where we are talking about the functions, creating the functions and supporting the coding around that function. So there is a lot of similarity of this R with various programming languages. So it looks like C, but something improvised with respect to C. There you could see some kind of reference classes and all of Java. And at the same time, you can also see some kind of programming structures which are based on Lisp and all other programming languages. So the learning curve is much smaller here. You can learn things much faster. A very basic way of understanding the stuff. So let's get started with the things, where the first part I want to look at is how do I really install R, right? So let me do it on Windows to start with. So go to this website, http colon www.rproject.org, r-project.org. This is a website from where you can download R. Go there. So this is the website. Within this, you just go towards download. Download R. Right? You can go towards download R. And here you have to choose. You have to choose the mirror that is closest to your location. So probably because I am from India, I am choosing this location. So let's say, let me choose this particular location. And in this user interface, I can talk about the download R for Windows. I can do a downloading R for Windows. Okay. So it is asking which one. So let me initially start off with the base. We'll install the others later wherever required. So I am downloading this R for Windows. Right. I have downloaded the R, and now once it is downloaded, I can even go and install the same. Right. It's almost getting downloaded. So everyone can download it directly from this location. Right. It's almost downloaded. Now I can install this on my system. So just look at the way we are going ahead with the installation. I can simply click next kind of stuff. Read the license, install it. Right, you can look at 32-bit or 64-bit kind of an installation. So startup option, do you want to customize the startup options? If you want, you can, otherwise you can go with the default. So I'll still go ahead with the default. So in the menu folder, so you can just keep next, that should not be an issue. So once you install this this is the kind of extraction that happens onto your system. Okay, so finally we are setting up. That's it. It's a quick to do kind of stuff. It's already installed for us, right? So now I can go ahead and launch this R. So when I start R, I have the 64-bit as well as the 32-bit. So probably let's say if I'm going with it, this is how the R opens. If I double click on the R, this is a graphical user interface of R. And we have this particular part which is called as the command line interpreter. Right, this is what we are calling as the command line interpreter, where we actually write our commands, where we do the programming of R here, right? So here, if you look at some of the other features, right, here we have something to do with the new script, open script, right, load histories kind of stuff. It allows us to do the pasting. The preferences for the GUI I can set, a toolbar and a status bar I can set. So stopping all the current computations. If I want, I can do listing of all the objects. So loading a package, we'll talk about the packages slightly later, but it helps us in loading the package, installing, updating the package. So very few things. Along with that, it provides some kind of help. So some basic things are what you could see as a part of the GUI which is being provided with respect to R. So it helps us a few things. It gives a help, it gives a basic text editor like this. But if I want a much more, if I want real serious coding in R, sometimes I could see that this GUI is not that helpful. I need a much more powerful kind of an editor. And there are so many text editors that are available, but otherwise we have R specific editors also that are available which can quite comfortably be used. And those are what we are calling as IDEs, which are nothing but integrated development environment. So I can use a much better IDE. There are many known ones. Probably I talk about R Studio. This is one powerful IDE which you can use if required. Because for very basic programming, even this GUI which R is providing, this is sufficient for us. But only if I am going for much more serious programmings, doing much many bigger lines of text, this is where R Studio comes more and more handy. We'll talk about the usage of those things. Now, if at all I'm more interested in R Studio, right? Because it's a R specific. I may not be able to use it for other programming languages, but it can really help me with some essential features of R, especially for doing the plots. It's much beneficial and helpful. There are different kinds of facilities for publishing the code. If I want to publish the R code, I can very well do it. And probably the learning curve is much smaller. I can very easily understand and get started with it. But much more from that, the advantage comes, you can actually run remotely through a browser, right? Which means you can actually run R on some powerful server. You can run the program on a powerful server, and you can very well access it remotely through a browser. That is the wonderful facility that it carries without losing any kind of computational power. So that's the advantage that it draws. Probably if you want it, you can very well download the same. So let me just get started even in that space. So you can visit the website rstudio, rstudio.org. where you can download the R Studio as well. So basically you can very well use the GUI which is being provided with the basic installation. But if you are mainly interested in writing tons of R code and you want a very quick learning curve, very quick to learn kind of stuff, but much more than that, you want the ability to run remotely. That is where we are relying more and more on RStudio. I can get the RStudio installed first, right? I'll download it I'll install it. So I can go either with RStudio server or RStudio desktop version. Okay. So I can go with the Windows version. So right now let me simply download it. We'll try to install it at a later point in time. But you can very well use the RStudio for doing the programming with respect to R. Alright. Now let's try writing our first program. Very basic. Right? Just to understand how easy it is to code in R. Now once I have opened the GUI, let's say right now I use the GUI itself. Once I have opened the GUI, the same thing goes even if you are using any other IDE also. Let's say I want to compute the mean of first 5 numbers. Right? Probably I want to find out mean of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously I know the answer, it's 3. Or probably some such kind. Right? I can simply write mean in a bracket. I say or 11 to 15. Right? I want a sequence of numbers 11 to 15 and I write mean for it. Now this is the way, if you just press the enter, you are getting the answer as 13. Fine, right? So it's simply doing, if you look at the way it is, this is the structure. If I want to find out the mean, I simply say mean, bracket, whatever is the data for which I want to compute the mean, and probably if there is a sequence, I use the colon operator. So there are a few things. The colon operator is a kind of a sequence for me, starting from 11 to 15, incremented by 1. By default, there is an increment by 1. And this kind, where I am typically going with a series, instead of saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, here I have simply written mean 11 to 15. So this kind of an way of writing is called as a vector. This is what I am calling as a vector. And this mean in this language is called as a function, which is calculating the arithmetic mean. And the vector is enclosed in a bracket. And when the vector is enclosed in bracket, for this function, we are calling that as the argument to the function. Now, I tried something else, so probably right now we'll do one more. Right, mean 20 to 40. So something is coming out 30. But why I wrote it is, if I use this up arrow, I can repeat whatever are the tasks that I have done earlier. You see here, if I am pressing the up arrow, I'll get the previously performed tasks. Right, let me do one more. The mean 100 to 500. 300. But if you press the up arrow, you get all the previous commands that you have used. So you can repeat the stuff whichever the one you really want. This is the case even with the GUI or with the case of any other IDE also. Now, before we write any such kind of programs or anything, the first most important thing with any programming language is how to get the help. Let's say we have done the mean. how do I know or how do I get help regarding the mean? So if I already know a function or some kind of data set, if I know the name of that, all I need to do is type question mark followed by that name. Like, okay, I want to know something about the mean. So I'll type the question mark with a mean. So there is a kind of a help, mean, bracket, x comma something something. So that is the method. Or if you are looking at, okay, trimming, I can trim it equal to 0. So there are a lot of things that we are talking of. na.rm equal to false. Now what it is doing argument wise, x is an R object. So whatever is the value for which I want to compute the mean. Currently there are methods for numerical logical vectors. So it computes the mean for numerical as well as logical vectors. Date time, time interval objects. Then trim. The fraction 0 to 0.5 of observations will be trimmed from each end of x before the mean is computed. Values that trim outside the range are taken at the nearest endpoint. So there is a kind of a rounding off that it can do if I am specifying something like this. Then na.rm, a logical value indicating whether na value should be stripped before the computation proceeds. If at all there is an na value, the not applicable, not available kind of value, should that be stripped before doing the computation or not? So these are some of the things that are going as a part of the basic implementation of this function called mean. So that's how I can get a detailed help on each of the function provided I know the name of the function. But in this, if at all I am having some kind of special characters, if I have to get some help on special characters, let's say I want to get some help on plus, or if I want to get some kind of a help on reserved keywords. So let's say I want help on if, which is a reserved keyword, or I want some, so if I want to get helps on these kind of stuff, rather than just putting question mark followed by this, I have to enclose it in double quotes. Right? So that is what is the usage of the reserved keyword. Let's say I want to find out for plus what it does. Okay, again I'm getting plus x minus x. So they are different. So we'll talk about them. But yes, this is the way, one way I can get the access to the help of R. Right? And that's one way if I know the name. Similarly, I can talk about a keyword if. I'll get something about the if, how it is working. Right. Now comes, if at all, I don't know the exact name. I just know a keyword. I just know a keyword related to the problem search. So let's say I want to do something about plotting. Right? Or I want to know something about the regression model. But I don't know the exact name of that particular model. So in those cases, I can very well take the help of double question mark. So I say double question mark, and here if it is a single word, I'll type it as it is. If it is two words like regression model, better I enclose it in double quotes. Now I get a help regarding the regression model. Right, so somewhere wherever there is a kind of a regression model kind of stuff that is available, it is talking about a list of all the pages where something to do with the regression model is present. So it is searching for the topics where this phrase regression model is present. So that's the way I can use the help of R And the same things, okay, the other way is the question mark can be even obtained through a function called help. So I could have typed help and in the bracket I could have given mean, or I could have typed help and in the bracket I could have given plus. So the question mark can very well be done with a help, and double question mark can very well be done with help dot search. Help dot search regression model. Right? Help dot search regression model. Now let me try doing one for you. Help dot search regression model. The same thing that is coming out which has come earlier, the same thing is coming out even now. So either I could have used double question mark or I could have used the help dot. And here the thing is, okay, let's do something more. Let me say help me. If you look at the difference, if I am using help, mandatorily I have to put it in double quotes. And let's say if I want to type what it means, here I could very well put this kind of a hash, computes the mean, right? Some such kind of documentation I can very well do. Now it will still give me the same mean. Means actually wherever I have written this hash, after this hash, R will ignore the rest of the code. So it's like a comment. Probably you can use these comments to document your code so that you can remember the things. Whatever you have done long time back, you can remember it at any particular point in time. The only difference between the question mark and help is, in case of help, you have to keep each word in double quote, whereas only the reserved and special characters and phrases you will keep in double quotes when you are using question mark or double question mark. So those are two important ways of getting help. Apart from that, there is a very interesting function called apropos. Apropos. It's also finding help. It finds the variables and functions which are matching your input. So you just need to give one input, and whichever the variables and functions that are there which are matching your input. So generally when you do a half remembering, you don't know the full name of the variable or the function. You just have some idea about it. Then you can very well use apropos. For example, let's say I really want to find out what are the kind of functions and variables that are there, probably which have the word vector in them. Right? I want to get some kind, so I don't know the exact phrase or the word of the variable or the function, but I somehow want to get all the kinds of functions and variables that are available with the word vector. Now it gives me so many things, right? Dot underscore c underscore vector, as dot vector dot factor, vectorize. So there are so many. So apropos helps me from this particular perspective. It shows all the variables that are there which are containing the string vector. If there are some functions, even those functions are being shown. Along with that, even there are a few fancy stuff that you can do. Probably if I really want to know all the variables, right? Let's say all the variables that are ending in Z. I simply want the list of all variables that are ending in Z. Even that I can do using apropos. So I can simply use apropos. In double quotes, I put Z and then put a dollar. So it means that the ending in Z. So I get a list. Okay, SS Gompards, Toll Place, UNZ. These are different things that are ending up with Z. And within this, if I want TZ, right, I can say I want to just look at the ones that are ending with TZ. So I'll put TZ dollar. So only these two, because this is UNZ, which is not ending up with TZ. So I can very well use apropos for that. And let's say I want to find those kind of functions and variables where which contain, let's say, numbers 4 to 9 in between them. All I can do is I enclose them in this square bracket and I'll get it. Now, apropos, all I require is within this I simply put 4 to 9, quotes close, that's it. Now I get, okay, wherever 4 is there, 4, right? 4 to 9, all the numbers, AS, S4, 9, 8, 2, 8 is here, 8 is here, 7 is here. So all those functions and variables which have the values 4 to 9 in them, even that is being shown to us. That is one kind of searching that you can do. Once you know it, probably you can very well use a question mark to find out what it is altogether. Then the next thing is, if one more way of learning R, there are a few examples which are already included in the installed version of R. They'll help you, they'll give you a better idea on how they work. Right, so I can very well use the function called example, and within that example I can give them in the bracket whatever the one I really want. And for some cases I can very well use demo. Demo is something which is a longer demonstration of the concept. So let me see here. Example. Let's say I want to know about the mean. I want an example of the mean. Now it has given me an example. Right? It is showing me that, okay, you assign X. So this is an assignment. X will take the values. We'll talk about these things slightly later. But it is giving me an example. X will take values 0 to 10, comma 50. And xm is another variable that I am creating, which will take the mean of x. And we are also saying concatenate, when we are displaying concatenate xm. So what is xm here? 0 to 10 and 50, the mean of that. So xm, which will give me the mean, and mean, another mean that we are computing, x, trim equal to 0.1. So you are trimming that x to the 0.1 and we are trying to compute the mean again, and which is finally giving us two different. So the regular mean is giving me 8.75, trimmed mean is giving me 5.5. We'll do the calculations of them slightly later. So this is how we can very well compute. This is well we can very well compute, and we can take the advantage of the example mean. So by looking at this example, we should be able to do it for many other stuff. Similarly, I can use the example. Let's say I want to do a plotting. I can simply say example plot. So for the ones that are already there, it is giving me some kind of a help. Now here the plot comes out. So there is an example that it is giving. Require stats. It is using this function require stats. Then it is doing the plot cars. So it is taking some time for the execution. But you can very well use this kind of a function, so this kind of examples to really help you out. Then, okay, let me close this for time being. And at the same time, now let's say you want to know what all demos are there. So I can simply say demo with an open bracket and a close bracket. It is showing for all these things that demos are available right now. Right, demo Japanese. So you can say demo Japanese, table of Japanese characters in the Hershey vector font. So I can say demo graphics, demo image, these kind of stuff for which demos are already given. I can talk about linear and generalized linear modeling. I can simply say demo of that. Right. So this is one more help which we can typically use. Then a little bit of more things regarding this R. It is a modular language. So it's split into modules. Each module we are calling it as a package, as a terminology. And each package actually contains some vignettes. Vignette is nothing but a kind of a document, kind of a help document, which helps us to talk about how to use this particular package. And I can access whatever are the vignettes that are available. I can very well go with browse vignettes. Yeah, let me tell you, R is more and more case sensitive. So the capitals and smalls have to be used accordingly only. So if I say browse vignette, so it is giving me the list of all the browse. So you are talking about a package called grid. We are talking about a package called matrix. We are talking about a package called rpart. We are talking about a package called survivor. Now within each of these packages, these are all the different vignettes that are there. So how do I display the list? How do I edit the grid? Right? Introduction to the grid. Lot of things that we can think of by going to the different kinds of vignettes and different packages. So I get a list of all, and if I really want to open one of them either from here, I can directly open. Right? So these are, it means that these are the packages that are currently installed on my machine, on my system. But let's say I want to I want the system to browse the vignettes or the kind of packages that are not installed on my machine. I want to look at probably something on Bayesian regression. Right? I want to look out for something on Bayesian regression. May or may not be available on my system. Let me try it out. Right? Is it available or not? I can try out. So if I want to try out the specific vignette, I can say vignette. I can call it Bayesian regression. Probably it is not there because when we have looked at the list of all the vignettes, we could not trace it. Right? So Bayesian regression vignette is not found. Now I really want to search on the internet whether there is any such kind of package associated with Bayesian regression. Now this is where the I use the command r site search. SS caps, search is also caps. I can use r site search. Within this I can use Bayesian regression, but this Bayesian regression has to be enclosed in braces. Right? So let me try this. R site search, within the braces I am using Bayesian regression. Right? if I am trying to search out for Bayesian regression. Now I could see here it is searching on something called search.rproject.org. It is searching the internet for this Bayesian regression. So there is a searching that is happening on Bayesian as well as regression, right? So these are some of the things. No document is matching your query, so it is did not take it forward. But actually, the searching is happening somewhere here. Either you come directly here and do a search, or you could give even from that command prompt. It will come to this location. Now you could see here a search query has been submitted to http search.rproject.org. So you can do it right from here by using that R site search kind of a keyword. So just to summarize the stuff, now you have multiple ways of doing the searching. You have used single question mark followed by the name of the function or a data set, double question mark along with the name of the concept. We tried apropos to find out search matching with a particular keyword, and you have also used right now the R site search, which is helping us to search for a particular concept across the net. And probably you see that for R there are hundreds of such kind of resources that are helpful. Probably there is an R help, which is a kind of a mailing list. Lots of questions available, so you can subscribe to this kind of mailing list, or you can have something called rseek. It's a kind of a search engine, right? Different functions, posts that are there from the various mailing list archives, it pulls out and displays things for you. There are different kinds of blogs that are available, so you can actually start exploring this stuff. We have something called R bloggers, which is a pure community, exclusive community for R programming. So lots of things that are available as free resources for us, which can help us in getting started with R. And as we said, R is more and more modular in nature. In many cases, the basic R that we have installed may or may not be sufficient to perform all the tasks. Now, this is where we can go with different kinds of add-on packages that are there, which are associated, which help us in doing some more additional pieces of work. Now, when I'm in Windows, I can simply talk about install dot packages. It's a kind of a direct thing that I can use. I can say install dot packages install R. This is the name of the package, install R. This package is like an add-on. The extra pieces of software that are really needed for extending the functionality can very well be done using this install R package. So let me try that. Install dot packages, and within the bracket I'm using install R, all small letters. Okay, so here when this comes, instead of a prompt, let's say a plus comes here, it means I did not complete the previous statement. Some gap is there with the previous statement. Because I did not close the bracket, it is saying that things are not yet complete. So that is when I get a plus like that instead of a greater than symbol. So now that I have closed the bracket, it executes and it is asking you, would you like to use a personal library instead? So install dot packages install R is not writable. Okay, I have to select a Quran mirror. So I'll select my location. Okay, let me install it from somewhere. All right, let me install it from India. So now the downloaded binary packages are available in this particular location. So I can go to that and I can see different kinds of packages being installed. Now I can access what is there by going with library install R. Install R is the package that we have installed. So I can say if I have to load that package, I can say library install R. Okay, so it is saying welcome to install R, this particular version, contact this. So there is a library that typically got loaded. Same way, probably if at all I require some kind of R tools, if I have, see, generally I may be relying on some R tools if I really want to build my own packages. At a later point, we can talk about building our own packages. In that case, it's better that I even install R tools also. So this is what I really wanted to make you understand on the basics of R. So just a quick summary. R is a free open source kind of a language which can really help me in doing a good data analysis. So it's a piece of a software along with a language which can run the programs that are written on R. I can download the R. It's from that rproject.org. Though I can write R in any kind of editor or the GUI, there are different kinds of integrated development environments which are associated with R, and we simply looked at R Studio being one such kind of an environment which can make my job much easier. We talked about different ways in which I can get help. Either I can use question mark, double question mark, then a search string, or I could have used apropos, or we have even talked about vignettes, or we have even used R site search, right? Different kinds of mechanisms, and probably there are hundreds of resources that are available in R. I really, for many of the regular stuff, I really don't need to get into the programming part. There are lots of programs that are already available for me. So it's that basic learning curve that is very much essential for me to get a good hold on the R programming language per se, right? All right.